Welcome to Pyrotechnics, the podcast from your number one publication, Fireworks Rock and Metal Magazine. Issue 103 is now available to pre-order at www.fireworksmagazine.com or www.firescapeofficial.com.
Please welcome your host for today's show, Pete Arnett.
Welcome to all you lovely rock and metal heads. Hope you've been having a good week. Let's get on with the show. I'd like to welcome my two guests for this podcast today. We have the master of all he surveys, being that he is the owner and editor of, obviously, Fireworks Rock and Metal Magazine. Welcome to the show, Bruce.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for listening.
And regular viewers to our website will see the fantastic online exclusive Vocal Point interviews that we have. He's the man who knows more stars than the night sky. It's Stuart Dryden. Stuart, welcome to the show.
What an introduction. I don't know if I can live up to that, but yeah, hi everybody.
Obviously, we wish to start this podcast by saying that all at Fireworks Rock and Metal Magazine were saddened to hear about the passing of the legendary Tina Turner at the age of 83. It's well documented about her life, so we're not going to go into any of that, and also her amazing career. But Heaven has certainly gained another star with the passing, and it's getting quite a stellar lineup of talent. Obviously, we wish to send all our condolences and sympathies to her family. Right, let's get started then. So, I'm going to ask you guys a question. And that question is, have you ever been to a concert where something doesn't sound right? Be it either the vocals or the band, or is it just a naff sound in general? And because of that, have you ever left the concert?
This is the one gig I remember for all the wrong reasons. And it was actually at Ayr Pavilion in Scotland. And there was a Magnum and the Tigers of Pantang. And I love both bands. I'm a massive Magnum fan. But Tigers of Pantang were just so loud, it was painful. After 3 songs, I had to walk out into the street because I just couldn't handle it. It was so loud, it was hurting my ears. And that's the loudest concert I've ever heard. Maybe they were trying to play with their full power in a small venue like the Ayr Pavilion. But, I was just awful.
That's not good. Stuart, what about you?
Me, I've never walked out in a concert. I believe if I've bought the ticket, I'll stay to the end, because things could improve or you could miss out on some strange thing going on or anything. So I just stay to the end. Mainly the headline bands, I wouldn't say, there was a couple of bands I've seen, like Texas. I took my first wife to see Texas and it was pretty boring, to be honest. And Asia, I love the Asia albums, but they were very boring. They just stood there and just played and didn't really inspire the audience to cheer or anything. But I didn't walk out in these things. I just stayed to the end.
That just reminds me of the podcast poll. Do you want to see somebody who can play the music or a showman? So what you're saying, Stuart, is Asia played brilliantly, but they were boring. You would rather have a little bit of showmanship there.
Well, I mean, really, you want both. You want a great musicianship and to inspire the audience and get them going. That's mainly the singer's job. But I mean, the rest of the band could actually move about as well, rather than just like the Asia one in particular. They just all stood still. They must have an X marks the spot or something. They just stood there, and I was like, okay, music was good, but
wasn't the bassist nodding his head because he normally nods his head when he plays?
I don't know. Minimal, probably. Maybe at a Twitch.
I must admit, the poll that we ran about that was split 50-50. It was no one could make their mind up if they wanted to see a showman with average singing skills or a top-notch singer with average showmanship skills. So it just goes to show you that each to their own, which obviously we knew anyway. I must admit, with going back to the concerts that was leaving, I've only ever walked out of one, and that, funny enough, was a tribute act. It was to Meatloaf, and he sounded so bad. In essence, it was opposite to Bruce. His microphone, he kept on saying, wasn't working, so he was quite quiet to start off with. But when he did get a microphone that worked, we all wished it hadn't, and it had gone back to being quiet, because it was absolutely shocking. And that's the only one that I've ever walked out of.
Can I ask you what the hell you were doing going to a tribute band in the first place?
Yeah, I'm going to blame the wife again on this one. It was something that she wanted to see. I mean, he got really good write-ups, and then we went to see him. No, just not. Like I say, we all wish the microphone had turned off full stop.
Do you know? I guess, Bruce, you don't like tribute bands. I mean, I've went to see a few, and they've been really, really good.
It's not that I don't like them. I mean, if somebody was doing a Rainbow tribute band, the Dio years and close to me, I'd go and see them. I don't. I just think tribute bands are taking the place of original bands, and all the pubs and that are want to sign tribute bands at the expense of original music. So I just think it's killing the scene for original bands.
Okay.
And so that's a fair point, and there's another podcast in its own right, which we'll do later on. Right, the reason why I asked you this question, chaps, is because this now leads us on to our main topic, which is when should singers and or bands retire? I mean, there's been quite a few things in the press recently about the fact that all the bands that are out there that we know and love are basically getting old now, you know, and obviously with the sad news of Tina Turner passing, you know, that's another one of our era that's gone. And I think Dave Cockett made the comment a few podcasts ago that when they've gone, who is there to replace them? Who's going to step up? But I'm sure that we've all been to a show and thought, oh, guy, are these guys still going? I mean, obviously, examples, Rolling Stones. I mean, there must be about 260 by now, but they still keep going on tour. They still keep doing music. But is it time for them to stop? And when should they stop? I'll throw this one over to Bruce.
Right. Well, the first thing you've got to realise is like the voice is a muscle, like any other muscle. When you get older, it's going to degrade. Some people are worse than others. Give you an example. Ronnie James Dio. Last time I saw him playing with Heaven and Hell, he was in his 60s. His voice was still amazing. But, you know, there's not a lot that can hold Ronnie James Dio up to. What started me thinking this way was about 10 years ago. I went to see Whitesnake and Motley Crue. And David Coverdale's voice was just awful. And what I hated was most of the time he would just hold the microphone out to the crowd and say, sing along if you know this one. And I'm like screaming, I paid to hear you sing, not the crowd sing. And it got me so angry. I'm like, why am I paying for this? And as an aside, they've just toured again recently. Well, with Def Leppard and Motley Crue. Why the hell did Def Leppard bring Motley Crue back again after 10 years? We've already seen them 10 years ago. They haven't had any new albums, new music. What was the point? But anyway, going back to David Coverdale, I was thinking, man, you've just got to throw the towel in. You're getting too old for this and it's not working. And to give him his due for the farewell tour, he knew himself the game was up. And he got the young guy in as the backing vocalist. In fact, basically all his band are backing vocalists. So a Whitesnake concert, come back to that topic, it was more about showmanship. And I actually enjoyed the farewell tour because it sounded good. So yeah, but then we look at people like Bon Jovi. Oh my God. People have probably seen the clips on YouTube of recent Bon Jovi shows, and he is just awful. He can't sing. He should just give up. But another thing you've got to think about, and I was thinking this about Magnum, because like I said before, Magnum used to be my favourite group. Love Bob Catley, love his vocals. But I don't go and see Magnum anymore. Apparently, if you get them early in the tour, they sound good. But once they get into the tour, and towards the end of the tour, his voice is shocking. And well, you know, Bob's 73, you expect that. But another point when I thought about Bob is, in Magnum, he doesn't write any of the songs. So do these singers, when they're younger, even think about having a pension, starting a pension for themselves when they're older? Or do they just burn the candle as they go on? And then when they're older, they realize, damn, I've got no money. I've got to keep on doing it because that's my source of income. So that's another question I've got. Do these people in bands even think that way to make themselves a pension? Probably not. If you're big bands, then it doesn't matter. You've got millions in the bank anyway. But for somebody like Bob Catley with Magnum, who doesn't get songwriting royalties, then live performance is his bread and butter. So he has to sing. That's another subject for debate. And then you look at Kiss, Jim Simmons and Paul Stanley. Everybody's now saying they sing to backing vocals. But both these guys are in their 70s now. Should we be surprised by that? And again, it goes back. I went to see Kiss about 4 years ago when they played Manchester Arena. And it was a great show. The showmanship was brilliant. And did I care if there was augmented backing vocals? To be honest, no. Because I was seeing Kiss. I was watching Kiss and I enjoyed the show. And for me, it was all about the show. I didn't care if the vocals weren't 100% genuine or not. I enjoyed the show. So then you get these other points. Look at Ozzy Osbourne. You know, he's rearranged. Well, now he's retired. quite rightly. But that show, he rearranged it 3 times. And this is the other point. Every time he rearranged it, people got refunded for the original tickets and then they had to buy tickets for the new shows. But the booking fees did not get refunded. My brother 3 times booked tickets for that Aussie tour, and he was booking for his mates 6 tickets at a time. And every time the tour was cancelled and he got refunded, he didn't get the booking fees refunded. And the booking fees these days are outrageous, as everybody knows. What the hell? Who are you paying booking fees to? Who's taking that money? It's like it's money for nothing. But to reschedule a tour 3 times and keep the booking money twice, to me, was outrageous. And Aussie should have just called it a day 5 years ago instead of prolonging it and prolonging it. So again, that's another topic for discussion. Axl Rose. I saw Guns N' Roses again 10 years ago at Sweden Rock. He was awful. But to give him his due, I guess when he substituted in AC/DC, he did a really good job. So I guess people kind of have off days as well. So, but like you said, when you started this topic off, a lot of people from the classic bands are now in the 70s. And for me, I just wish if they know themselves they can't hack it anymore. I think you're cheating the audience out of thousands of pounds to go and see a show that's just not up to scratch. So, and I guess that's another topic for debate. Like I said, are we going to accept backing vocals on live shows? When do they stop? That's how I see it anyway. And it's not just singers. I went to see Rainbow with Richard Blackmore when he did I was going to see reunited shows. It wasn't Rainbow, was it? Not really. But no, Blackmore, it's well documented. He's got arthritis in his fingers and that now. He can't play how he used to play. So he's not playing the same. Did I enjoy it? I was seeing Blackmore as my hero, so I did enjoy it. But I've seen Rainbow 20 years ago, and it was night and day. So with guitarist arthritis and that's another question. Should they stop playing live? I don't know. Let's pass it over to Stuart and see what Stuart thinks.
Okay. Well, thanks for stealing my thunder. I've got my notes. I've got my notes here for singers: Coverdale, Stanley, and Neil, which you've already covered. A story about David Coverdale. It's not actually that recently that he's had problems with his voice. It must be 15, 20 years ago. I saw them in Glasgow, and I wasn't happy with their vocals at all. I came away from that saying to my mates, that's the last time I go and see Whitesnake. I'm not going back again. But the next time they came around, my mate thought I asked him for a ticket, so he got me one. And I thoroughly enjoyed the show. It was completely different. Like Bruce says, he got in backing singers as well as playing the instruments. They're good vocalists in their own right. So they covered up Coverdale's indiscretions in his voice. Recently, I went to see Whitesnake with Foreigner in Europe. I thought I'll maybe see Whitesnake and Foreigner one last time. And to be fair, he did say it was a farewell tour, and he didn't try to cover up his inefficiencies in his voice, because he was quite clear he was struggling. But the whole showmanship of David Coverdale is great, and the show was good. Foreigner were the best band of the night, mind you, but I was happy to go and see him one last time. So basically, bands giving up, singers need to be replaced if they can't sing. Whitesnake's maybe a different entity because it's David Coverdale's band, unless he wants to take a sidestep, get another singer in and take some royalties. Maybe that's the answer. As far as bands are concerned, as long as you can play your instruments to a good, satisfactory way, then that's fine. But there's a couple of bands I like to mention, Molly Hatchet and Blackfoot. Now, they're going out under those names, and there's no original members or no long-time members. That seems a bit of a cash-in, to be honest. I would rather they'd change their name and just come out. They could play the Molly Hatchet songs and something else, some original material, but don't come out as Molly Hatchet or Blackfoot, because you're not really the same band.
Well, of course, that raises a point what you just said, Stuart, and also as well, Bruce. Do we think that artists are now, like you said, they're getting older? Are they just in it now to, get the cash cow, or should they be taking more responsibility, saying, "Listen, we can't do what we used to do. We should now sort of, retire gracefully. We've got a legacy. Let's leave it at that." Or are they all just thinking, one more concert, one more tour, let's get that last bit of money out of everybody? Should they be more responsible?
Well, in an ideal world, they should be more responsible, but it certainly looks like they're trying to cash in. Certainly the pandemic that happened recently didn't help artists in any way. And then with the ongoing issues with people downloading music and not buying as much product, they've got to go out to tour to make some money out of tickets and T-shirts and such like.
Bruce, what about you?
Well, to come back to what I said earlier, if these guys haven't provided a pension for themselves when they were younger, they've got money. So it's basically they need the money from live touring. And we all know you don't make money from CD sales anymore. It's the tour that brings you the money. So if they haven't got money to live on, and they've got mortgages, they've got ex-wives, they've got alimony, they've got to get out on the road to make money. So basically, there's probably no choice.
I have a list of all the artists who have got a pension here.
Well done.
It's a blank page, everybody. Right, so playing devil's advocate, what I want to now ask is, do you think that tours go on too long? You've already mentioned Bob Catley's voice, Bruce, and I must admit, I saw Magnum a couple of years ago when they were coming to the end of their tour. I think this was the second to last date they did. And there were certain parts of the show where Bob's voice sounded very, very stretched and, it did sound like it had undergone quite a battering from the tours he did. But then I think they'd done something like a 35 or 40 date tour. And as you rightly point out, Bob's early 70s. And, it was obviously that his voice has suffered from it. But then again, when I saw Billy Idol, his lead stop was the last one on his tour, and he'd done about a 50-date tour, I think, as well. And there's certain parts where his voice was crackling and it didn't sound great. But to be fair, that was probably only about 10% of the show. But do you think now that the tours are too long? Should bands be looking at shorter tours? Should they be looking at, doing things that conserve their voices and keep, maybe keep a bit of longevity going? I mean, do you think tours are too long? What do you think, guys?
It's all economies of scale, isn't it? It's probably cheaper to do a 30-date tour than it is to do a 10-date tour, because you're paying people, you're paying everything, and you've got to bring the money in. You've practiced, you've learned a set. How long have you spent learning that set? You could have spent 2 weeks learning it. You don't want to go out and just play 5 days. You want to get as much money as you can for the previous reasons we've spoken about. So as long as the dates aren't that close together, in the UK, we're a small country, so you could probably get away with doing 10 days. But in America, which is massive, 30-date tour is probably too small, to be honest. But horses for courses, really. I mean, if you're a big enough band, you can fill that show every day, then you'd be stupid not to do it.
It might be an idea to maybe split a tour in half, like 20 or 30 dates at the start of the year, and then maybe take 2-3 months off, and then do the other venues at the end of the tour. Give the voice a rest.
Yeah. Do you think that might kill the momentum?
Not really, because I mean, you're getting advertised. Your concert is in 2 months' time, or it's in 6 or 8 months' time. It's still the same concert you're going to. It's just that they've had a warm up part of the tour before you see them, if you're seeing them later on, and hopefully their voice will be tip top.
I'm sure some bands actually do that, because you see leg one of the tour and leg two of the tour. So I mean, a lot of these guys are family guys as well, so they don't really want to be on the road for 3 months and a go, 4 months and a go. So they do the first half, then have a break with the family, go back to the families, rehearse a bit more, go back in the second leg. That makes sense.
Has there been any artists that you say, they should have retired long ago, and if so, why do you think they didn't? Apart from obviously money. Is it ego?
Well, let's look at another guy I've got on my list here, Rob Halford. Rob Halford's voice is still great. But if anyone's seen him live recently on stage, it's almost embarrassing. It's like he's missing his Zimmer frame. He just shuffles from one end of the stage to the other end of the stage like an old man. And it's quite sad. His voice is great, but his movement isn't. So
it's because he's got lead boots on.
Doesn't help.
It's difficulty lifting them.
And
heavy metal boots.
His big heavy trench coat and leather and all that. It's just, I don't know. I don't know.
I know what you're saying. I saw Judas Priest as well. Not recently, but he was lumbering about then.
So I've forgotten what the question was now, Pete. What was the question?
Well, basically, when should singers retire, and when are they just continuing because of ego, or is it just money related?
Well, I guess like I said before, look at Ozzy. Time caught up with him, and he knew. He knew. He probably knew 3 years ago, but he spun this on for 3 years. I'm sure. I don't know who pocketed that booking fee, but he knew 3 years ago he should have, and he didn't. And I think they know themselves. Anything else is just, like I said before, it's just cheating the fans. They know. They know themselves when their voice isn't good enough. They know themselves when they aren't physically able, day after day, getting that tour bus, up on stage. They know. It's not up to us to say. It's up to them to say. And it's like Stuart said with Whitesnake, and that was 20 years ago. I saw him 10 years ago and said the same thing. I'm not going to go and see Whitesnake again. And then, of course, I did for the farewell tour. But it's up to the fans. As the fans go to a gig and they see themselves, wow, this is not very good, then maybe the artist will get the message next time they announce a tour and the ticket sales. Maybe that's why a lot of tours are getting cancelled, or lack of ticket sales. You never know.
Of course, there can be sometimes when the singers do have an off night. I mean, I remember seeing Def Leppard, and Joe Elliott admitted he had a bit of a cold, and he didn't sound quite as good as he normally does. But even some of the Def Leppard gigs, you can hear he's straining his voice a wee bit. But luckily, obviously, he's got good guys behind him that can sing as well and do some good background.
Well, it does happen. Just look at the papers last week. Sam Smith, 3 songs in to the concert, Manchester Arena, and he goes off stage saying, sorry, my vocal cords are strained, cancel the rest of the tour. So, yeah, and I've been at concerts before where people have had a cold. I mean, singers, they're very sensitive to everything. They keep away from it, and they're really scared to catch a cold because the voice is their life. And it can happen. Same with Klaus Meine. Klaus Meine, with the vocal cords, is nodes in his vocal cords. He had to go for surgery. Like we said, the voice is a muscle. Things can go wrong, and it has gone wrong. It happens to people. But again, if that's the only source of income, what do you do about it?
There's also the ego thing as well. I mean, well, maybe not, ego's maybe the wrong word, but some artists obviously love the limelight. They love the fame, the notoriety. They just want to be out there, or they love playing, or they love singing. They just love it, and they don't want to give it up. They want to keep it going as long as possible. I mean, I played football up until last year. I had to give up because my back just wouldn't let me turn to the left-hand side, so there was no point in continuing. I just didn't want to be left there looking stupid. But I mean, these artists are obviously trying to get away with it, with their singing, with obviously the backing vocals and the nostalgia aspect of the older acts with the fans. I mean, the Rolling Stones probably put on a great show still. I mean, Mick Jagger's in his 80s and he can still prance about like a young thing, as an example. But there are other ones, obviously, that can't. But it's whether you want to pay your money to go and see an act that's been around 50 odd years or whatever, or save your money for the younger bands. I tend to go to as many concerts as I can. That's me. I mean, I went to see Whitesnake because I thought it was going to be the last time I'll see them. There are bands that do farewell tours that are not farewell tours. Kiss. I'm going to see Kiss again. One last time because my wife had always wanted to see them and she'd never seen them, so I took taking her.
Well, there you go, listeners. So they're the points that the guys have raised, and do you agree with them? Should the bands take more responsibility? Should it be up to us as fans to sort of say, listen, you can't cut the mustard anymore, we're not going to come and see you? Do you agree with the list as well that the gentlemen have raised, with regards to the names on it? Should they retire? Should they not? Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. We do want to know them, and I say it's a debate. We want to get a debate going, so let us know. Okay, so moving on from that one, we're going to go on to our next topic. It's the section we like to call "It's on social media, so it must be true," isn't it? And this one is actually one that Bruce will be quite familiar with, as he posted a picture recently of when him and his brother were younger, and they basically covered their walls in picture discs. But this was something I also read on social media recently, when somebody actually asked the question, are picture discs worth it, and what are they actually there for? So, that's my question to these two chaps, is picture discs, what are they good for? Is it better to listen to them or to look at them? And is the quality on a picture disc as good as it is on a normal vinyl?
Okay, I'm probably the wrong person to ask about picture discs, to be honest. I used to buy vinyl, and to be honest, I preferred to buy just the ordinary album with the sleeve. I only owned, I think, 3 picture discs, MSG, Built to Destroy, Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast, and Ace Frehley's Kiss solo album on picture disc. My eyes were opened by Bruce, actually, when he took me to his house, and his brother's room was wall-to-wall picture discs. I'm assuming they bought the picture disc and the ordinary vinyl so that they could play the ordinary vinyl when they wanted, because otherwise it's just decoration, isn't it? But so picture disc for me, there was only, when I was buying vinyl, it was only 50p more to buy the picture disc, but I just bought the ordinary vinyl.
Fair enough. And obviously, like I said, Bruce, that picture that you had was, quite impressive. And obviously, we were talking off air, and the money that you guys spent, unbelievable. What was it for picture? What was it about picture discs that you guys really enjoyed?
It was the collectability and the visual look. The first picture disc I ever bought was probably when I was about 12 years old, which was Tubular Bells, and I actually bought that to play. I actually saw it in Blue Peter, and I was like, "Oh, that looks cool," and I bought it. And when I was 12 years old, I wasn't really caring about the quality. I played it both sides, used to play it every night. But when I got older and into rock, and they started releasing picture discs, it was a known fact at the time that the sound quality in picture discs is not as good. And I've known that recently from getting them made. The manufacturers tell you the quality is not as good in picture discs. Because think of what a picture disc is. It's actually two halves of a clear vinyl album with the picture stuck in the middle and the two halves stuck together. So all that extra handling, it's going to give you artifacts and scratches and everything on your vinyl compared to black vinyl, which should be perfect. But me and my brother, from when I was 14, 15 years onwards, we started collecting picture discs. And it wasn't to listen to them, because we knew we didn't buy them to play them, because the sound quality wasn't that good. We bought them because they were collectibles. We didn't think at the time, oh, this will be worth a fortune in 40 years' time. We just, like you said, bought them 4 walls in my brother's bedroom, wall-to-wall picture discs, and it looked awesome. And like we said, we worked out just recently, and our picture disc collection is worth over £100,000. We've got so many, and they're up in the attic. So yeah, you want to see them, come round and go to my brother's attic, and we'll dig them out for you, which seems a bit of a waste. But yeah, and like I was talking to you off air just earlier, when we did the Gabby Duvall picture disc for Kissing Dragon Night, I wasn't expecting people to play it. I thought, oh, that would be a nice limited edition for people to collect. But no, people in Spain are buying it to play, which kind of shocked me a bit. But apparently it sounds really good, so I'll take that.
And as Stuart pointed out, did you guys buy the black vinyl versions to go with what you bought to go on the walls?
Usually the picture discs come out quite a bit after the original album, like Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast, all the Kiss albums. So yes, we had the black vinyls, because the black vinyl will always come out first. But then you've got all the singles, all the shaped. There was a period of a couple of years when the end thing was to have shaped picture disc vinyls. And we bought all the shaped picture disc vinyls. We bought all the 7-inch, 12-inch singles, picture discs, and coloured vinyls as well. Coloured vinyls, not as bad because the sound quality is just as good as black vinyl. It's just a different coloured vinyl. But yeah, we collected everything. Coloured vinyls, picture discs, and yeah, normally we'd have the black vinyl album as well.
You must have one hell of a storage space somewhere for all that stuff.
Big attic.
TV show, Bruce and Chris's vinyl collection.
Actually, we could probably do a 10-episode season on that.
There you go, folks. We might have another show coming your way. Well, so that people, again, let us know. Do you collect picture discs to look at? Do you collect picture discs to listen to? Do you see the point in picture discs? I mean, that's one of the things as well that was raised in this this media post was, what is the point of them? I mean, do a lot of them? I mean, I presume they probably do become collector's items at the end of it. I mean, what do you think, Bruce?
I saw an advert just last week, for thing on eBay for picture discs, but they weren't playable. It was non-playable picture discs. Now that I can say, what's the fucking point? A picture disc you can't even play. What's the point? That was, it just boggled my mind. who is going to buy
Flooring.
that? Exactly.
Picture disc flooring. Yeah,
I
you
just,
walk
I just,
along your like a walk of fame.
I just don't know.
Rock star flooring.
But it was on eBay and the guy wanted £50. It was like, I think it was Kiss. But it was Kiss. Yeah, it was Kiss. Must admit the pictures looked good. It was like the Stripe cover and the Love Gun covers, but they weren't playable. So to me, it was just, nah, forget it. That's just totally pointless.
Can I just ask, it's off topic here, what's your thoughts on buying second-hand CDs? I mean, I buy a lot of them. I go into Glasgow occasionally and go to Missing Records and come out there with 20 CDs of I take a chance on some depending on the label or the wee bit of bio they've got in the sleeve or whatever. I mean, I went in there. The guy, there's an Irish guy behind the counter. He always gives me a discount. I mean, I've tossed it up. I should have paid, was it £71 for my 20 CDs, and he gave me it for 60 quid. It's £3 a CD. I know, and if there is any scratches, it's they're very light. You can hardly see them, and they play fine. It means I can add to my record or my album collection a lot cheaper than I'd expected.
That was a bit of a non sequitur there. I go from picture disc to CDs, but it kind of brings me back to when I was younger as well. I used to buy albums just for the cover, you know, Bat Out of Hell. It was bought just
Time Tells No Lies.
Exactly.
I bought that one. That's the cover.
Just for the cover. So again, with secondhand CDs, again, the cover is so tiny. Who cares? But with albums and picture discs, I would buy them just for the cover. I've actually bought picture discs for the cover, and the actual music wasn't that great. But hey, it looked great on the wall.
Well, fair enough. There we go. Again, the question I ask you guys out there is, do you buy picture discs to look at? Do you buy picture discs to listen to? Let us know again down below. Right, chaps. Well, thank you very much for that. Again, I think it's individual taste, I think we're just going to put it down to that with picture discs. Let's take a break from the chat for a moment. We're a rock and metal show, so let's play some rock and metal music. This is taken from Bruce's album, Circle of Friends, The Garden, and it is the track Truth or Dare featuring the great Karen Fell.
When the love has gone.
That was Truth or Dare featuring Karen Fell, and if you enjoyed that, check out the rest of the album at www.fireescapeofficial.com. It costs just £10.99 to get it on CD. Right, we're going to move on to reviews now, and as I said last week, we've expanded this now to include books, DVDs, even the odd cassette if you've got one that you've managed to dig out and you want to mention. It doesn't have to be old music, it doesn't have to be new music, beg your pardon, it can be old music, but whatever's caught your ear or caught your eye at the moment. And we're going to start with Bruce. Bruce, what have you got for us?
This is quite handy because just last week I was on Facebook and this advert came up. It was for a book called In the Shadow of the Wizard, and it's basically by Jerry Bloom, and it's Rainbow from 1975 to 1976. And this came out in 2020. I never knew it existed. And Rainbow are my favourite bands, and the Dio years is my favourite era of Rainbow. And this is not a small book. It's not a table coffee book. It's about double the size of a standard paperback, 220 pages, and anything you ever wanted to know about Rainbow, the early Dio years. This covers Richard Blackmore's Rainbow and Rising, 75 to 76, full of old paper clips, old interviews, lots of pictures. For a Rainbow fan like me, it was just amazing. I haven't even started getting into reading it yet. I was just flicking through the pages going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I just can't wait to sit down and get stuck into it.
I mean, you put a picture up on your social media as well. I mean, I must admit, the cover alone looks fantastic. So it does look an absolutely amazing book. For people that don't know, Bruce doesn't listen to a lot of new music, but his knowledge of old music is absolutely phenomenal. So what's caught your ear?
Yeah, just for Christmas last year, my brother got me 2 coloured vinyl albums, Magnum 2 and Chase the Dragon by Magnum, obviously. 2 of my favourite albums. And Magnum, Chase the Dragon is one of my favourite albums of all time, which is quite handy because in the next issue of Fireworks, we're going to have a making of the album in depth of Mark Stanway. But for me, Chase the Dragon is Magnum at the absolute peak. I know some people, I do love Storyteller's Night, I do love Wings of Heaven, but Chase the Dragon, the pomp and majesty of the album. And they still do songs to this day, Sacred Hour, Soldier of the Line, not so much, but these songs are classics and I still listen to them. I actually bought the CD just about 6 months ago so I could listen to it in my car. Because so anyone who's a fan of Magnum or even not a fan of Magnum who wants to hear what pop rock should sound like, I say go out and buy Magnum's Chase the Dragon, because that is seriously one hell of an album.
And Stuart has just raised a note as well, saying about his love of 11th Hour.
Yeah, I mean, the production was a bit thin, but I mean, to be honest, the song quality was good. I really enjoyed it. I was surprised and disappointed it got panned a bit.
Yeah, let me just say, because the 11th Hour was the first album by Magnum that they produced themselves. So that's probably why it sounds so thin, because Tony was still learning the ropes. And to be honest, I still think the Magnum albums now, because Tony's been doing the production on them since they reformed, but I think Magnum were always better when they had outside producers.
Well, there you go, listeners. Again, do you agree with Bruce? Were Magnum better with outside producers? Or do you think that Tony Clark is doing a really good job of producing them himself? Again, let us know. That's what the comments are there for. Anything else, Bruce, that's caught your ear?
No, not at the moment.
Not really? Okay, over to Stuart then. Stuart, what have you been listening to?
To be honest, I love finding new stuff. I mean, there's various mediums. Somebody maybe puts a song up on Facebook, you go and listen to it, or you read it in a Fireworks magazine, a review, and it tickles your fancy. You go and buy the CD and oh, that's great. I'm glad I bought that, And obviously doing some reviews for the magazine, that helps as well. Some of the stuff, you get a band like just a week or two ago, I got a band called Wonders. Dave sent me that and he said, oh, it's not, I wouldn't normally send you this one, but it was a power metal album, and I like power metal, but it's melodic power metal by a group called Wonders. Now this is their second album, and that was like, wow, the singer has a really strong voice, powerful melodic voice, and it was really, really good. So you can find lots of things. I mean, there's other albums There's actually one by a band called a Greek band called Hideaway. If you can ever source that, it's out of print apparently, because I went to the record label to see if they had any copies, but they didn't have any copies, so I couldn't get it, which was a bit of annoyance because it's a really, really good, strong album, a lot of melodic rock. But like I said, I'd been to the second-hand record shop, so I've got a stack of CDs here to play, some old, some new. I bought one from Andrew McNeese's website, the melodic rock guy. A is A. I heard a couple of tracks and it tickled my fancy, so I bought that. So, but I haven't listened to it yet. They're quite a kind of punk rock thing.
Cool. And what was the name of the Wonders album?
Beyond the Miracle was the Wonders album.
Fair enough. There you go, people.
A band that my brother got me into, which I'd never listened to until about 3 months ago. I now bought all their albums. It's a band called Beast in Black.
Oh yeah, we went to see them.
Yeah. I mean, the style, because they're adding contemporary melodic rock, heavy rock, mixed in with 80s synth pop.
Mm.
And it's something you never think of, and it's like, but it sounds brilliant. I just loved it. 80s synth pop in the heavy rock tunes.
The guy, the singer came from Battle Beast. They're good as well. They've got a female singer.
Yeah. My brother sent me a Battle Beast CD for my Christmas, and I really enjoyed that as well. And Rexoria. So we have to get my brother into this show sometime. He can tell us.
Oh, he'll never shut up.
Exactly. That's what we want.
Well, there you go, people. There's a whole bunch of names being thrown at you as well. So, do what the guys say. Check him out. Stuart raised a very valid point. Have a listen on YouTube. Have a listen, see what you like. It's all about discovering new music. I've got two as well I'm going to throw into the mix. And the first one is not a new group, but they've come back. I think they reformed a while back ago, but this is their recent album. It's Winger. Their album 7. It's out on Frontiers. It's one of those albums that it's got a mixture of songs. I mean, some are good, some are not so good. But I must admit, it's kind of caught my ear. It's quite melodic. It's not bad at all. I mean, I would check it out and see if you like it. To be fair, that is actually out now, that album. And the second one I'm going to throw into the mix is the new Tony Mitchell one, which comes out on the 1st of July. It's called Radio Heartbeat. And if you do like melodic AOR, it's a really good one to listen to. I must admit, he's a chap that flies very much under the radar, and it's quite unfair in some respects, because I must admit I really do like him as an artist, and hopefully we're going to try and see if we can get him on the podcast a bit later on in the series. But if you have never heard his stuff, it's very, very good, and I would go and check it out if you could. Again, it's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, so check it out, and if you do like it, buy it, support the artist. That's what we have to do to keep the music scene going. Don't just listen to Spotify and they get paid pennies. Go out and actually buy the album. I mean, you've heard what Stuart did. He went to a second-hand shop and he's bought a boatload. He's that friendly with the owner that obviously gets a massive discount. So, do that. Why not? In some respects, use and abuse the people that are out there and, get the music again. Anything else that you gentlemen would like to say? Anything else that you've heard?
I'd just like to say it's not because I'm really poor that I go to second-hand CD shops. It's just I love rock music so much that if I bought every single album I wanted, I would be in some serious debt.
But it's a good idea to do.
Yeah, Spotify.
No, I don't listen to Spotify.
We've had that podcast, haven't we?
The album I'm really looking forward to, more out of curiosity, it's not going to come out until November, is the Dolly Parton metal album. Yeah. Dolly Parton metal with all these special stars.
Is that not because you like women with big tits?
Partly, and blonde hair. Yeah, I don't deny that, which is why I like Jamie Kyle. So, but Dolly Parton doing heavy rock, I'm really, really, really looking forward to that.
Okay.
Fair enough. Again, but I think we've actually going to do a podcast on that, aren't we? About unusual albums that are being made by,
Dolly Parton.
People that you wouldn't expect, I was going to say, but yeah, go on then. Right. Okay, so moving on swiftly from there, let's go to the segment called Facts and Funnies. I asked a question last week of the audience, and Stuart actually answered it as well, or he put an answer down. And that question was, The Clash's Rock the Casbah was written after the banning of rock music, but where? You put Lebanon, didn't you, Stuart? I think in the comments.
It was a total guess, though.
Well, you were about 1,300 miles wrong, to be fair. It was actually Iran was the answer. So, yeah, the answer to that one was Iran. Right, so the question I'm going to ask you guys, let's see what your rock knowledge is like. On The Muppet Show, there's a character called Animal, and he's allegedly inspired by a famous musician. And do you guys know who it is?
Isn't the drummer from the Rolling Stones? But that's a guess.
You're correct, it's a drummer.
The drummer, is it Keith Moon?
No.
The drummer?
No.
Animal is a drummer, so I don't say Keith Moon.
No? Stuart, you got a guess?
Well, Keith Moon, obviously. It's probably, the Muppets have been going since the early 70s at least, or maybe even earlier than that, so it has to be someone from the 60s. If it's not Keith Moon, then it's got to be somebody else outrageous. Ringo Starr, I don't think he's very outrageous, though.
I'll put you out of your misery. Apparently, it was Mick Fleetwood.
Really?
Mm.
All right.
I didn't even know Mick Fleetwood was a drummer.
Fair enough. Right then, listeners, here's a question for you guys. And again, Bruce or Stuart, if you do know it, don't tell us. Let's see. I mean, obviously you can answer it on the comments. But Eric Clapton wrote the song Layla for another musician's wife. And do you know who that musician was or is? So if you do, write the answer down below. Bruce thinks he knows it. And then we'll give you the answer next podcast and see if you're right. Right then, I want to ask you guys something. So one of the things I like to do is read these funnies that happen at concerts, and this is possibly one of the most widely seen whoopsies of all times in live musical history. And during his performance at Live Aid, Paul McCartney took to the stage at Wembley, and with approximately 1.5 billion people watching around the world, and played the classic Beatles song "Let It Be." However, when he started to sing, he found out that his microphone wasn't working. It turns out that a technician for the band that had played before McCartney had accidentally unplugged the mic, and meaning that no one could hear him. It took about a minute apparently for the problem to be identified and sorted, and to be fair to McCartney, he went into the studio next day and re-recorded the vocals, so any broadcast and releases of the concert, had the full vocals. Some people have been a bit cruel and argued actually that the missing part of Paul's vocals was probably his best vocal performance ever, which is possibly a tad bit harsh. But the question I want to ask you, chaps, is: have you ever seen or heard a vocal mishap that has ruined a song, or indeed, or the opposite, has actually caused quite a lot of hilarity? I'll go to you first, Bruce. Have you ever heard anything like that?
I'd probably have to think about that. I've never seen something happening like that. I've seen sets being cut short and the singer's having a strop because their vocals were cut off mid-song, like Johnny Lehman Firefest comes to mind. But nothing I can think of straight away in terms of vocal mishaps, no.
I can't think of anyone in particular, but certainly it has happened a few times where the singer's mic has not been working. But then that's where you want the showmanship to come in, to carry on and play with the audience and until the problem's fixed. In fact, there was one recently. In fact, I think it was Michael Monroe. Mm. He was supporting somebody quite recently, and his mic old, but he carried on. He had a wee bit of banter with the audience while the band were playing away behind him. So I mean, if you can do that, then it doesn't really spoil the concert as such. Something that would spoil the concert would be all the lights going out or something, or all the instruments stopping, or that would spoil it a bit. But you've got to realise that technical problems do happen, and it's not really the band's fault. Bands walking off early because they're having a strop, that would be annoying to me. Also, there's some bands that only play like an hour, 10 minutes, and I feel I've changed. I want at least an hour and a half.
I mean, one of the famous ones that I heard was Joe Elliott, when he was playing with Def Leppard. They were singing a song and he just totally forgot the lyrics, so he started singing about the first thing that came into his mind, which just felt something to do with carpet and carpet fitting or something like that. And the entire audience just absolutely howled with laughter, you know. But as you said, he carried on. You know, he was the showman. He carried on. And you know, he still laughs about it nowadays. I remember seeing an interview recently, and he still brings it up and laughs about it. So you know, it does happen. Like you say, you know, technical issues do happen, mistakes do happen, and if you can perform through it, then you know that's the best thing. But you know, it just made me laugh when someone put, you know, that was actually Paul's best vocal performance when his microphone cut off. You know, which is a tad bit harsh to be fair, but rather funny in the extreme.
I'm still trying to get over this. The class rock the Casbah been written in Iran. I'd love to see them try that today, and I'm going to be called Islamophobic, but you know, not being able to do music in Iran. And you saw that about the Happy video, the girls dancing on the rooftop in Iran, and they got arrested and given lashes just for loving music.
Yeah, it can be a very cruel and insensitive world sometimes. Obviously, without wishing to sound too political, I think music's one of the few things that should cross all barriers, and everyone should just be able to enjoy it for what it is. However, and on that somber note, I think we'll bring things to an end. Don't forget that Fireworks Edition 102 is out now. You can buy it in WH Smith's and every good newsagents. Or you can go on to our website, www.fireworksmagazine.com, or our sister site, fireescapeofficial.com, and you can buy it for either download or we'll send it out to you. Also, just to let you know that issue 103 does come out on June the 15th. So again, you can now pre-order that at the two sites I've mentioned before. So do so. Get in there early and make sure you get your copy sent to you when it comes out. It's been an absolute blast talking to you guys. Thank you very much for obviously what the contributions that you made to it. And listeners, do you agree with the points that the guys have raised? You know, do you agree with the bands? You know, when should singers retire? Do you agree with their reviews? You know, let us know. Leave the comments down below. I've been your host, Pete Arnett. Say goodbye, and I'm going to let our editor and Commander-in-Chief, Bruce, say goodbye. Thank you very much, Bruce, for being on the show.
Thanks, that was a bit of a blast there, and I really enjoyed myself. Thanks.
Jolly good. As I say, and also a very special thank you to our new guest, Stuart, for being on the show. Stuart, thank you for taking the time to join us.
I enjoyed myself too, yeah, it was fun.
Until next time, keep listening to the music you listen to, keep enjoying it, that's what it's there for. But above all, take care and see you all later.
Thanks for listening. All views heard in this podcast are from the individual and do not necessarily represent those of Fireworks Rock and Metal Magazine.